How do we feel, folks? Do we feel like disco party time? This is my disco dance. Disco. I should get like a disco ball. One of those like lights that has like different lights on it, different colored lights, and it spins around and you like plug it in. And just like put it like right there so that it just spins in the background and we just have disco time during disco. What do we think about that? Hello, Flying Spork, and welcome. Hi, Noel Girl. Oh my goodness. That's a good experience. I hope that person had feelings. I love Suikoden. Well, we're gonna be playing this game long enough that I could actually probably stand to get a thing to go in the background. Let's see. What are we gonna talk about before we get into the game itself? Oh, hold on, wait a minute. Oh, we can do this. Hi. Hello, everybody. I'm gonna do this for my, like, when I'm chatting before we dive into the game. I should probably do this, shouldn't I? That's why I made this. And then proceeded to forget to use it ever. Yeah. I guess the quick news is that apparently my iron levels are super healthy. And so my doctor says that he thinks that my my memory and focus and stuff like that will probably come back. And I have like started dreaming again the past couple of weeks, which like my brain wakes me up from because it gets confused. It's like, what's going on? Like, it's not even like a bad dream. Like, you know how when you're having a bad dream and your brain like pulls you out of that bad dream before it gets worse? My brain does that, but it's not a bad dream. It's just like, what's going on? What is this? Because it's been like at least a year since I dreamed. Obviously, I guess apparently like dreams do happen whether we remember them or not, but something was not right. And dreams are related to the process of creating memories. It's something to do with the way that your brain processes the events of the day and the things that have been happening to you and the things that have been on your mind. Like somehow like that kind of gets funneled into and processed through dreams. And so it's possible that like my lack of having these like strong, memorable, experienced dreams is tied into my memory issues. If that makes sense. So we'll see kind of what happens as this continues. Maybe I will be able to remember things. I've been doing okay week to week in Disco Elysium. I feel like it has gotten a bit better. But I figured I'd give you all that update. Also, somebody offered to send me a microphone to test. Like, they're a microphone company. They wanted me to do like a review of it with Disco Elysium in the title, but it's a product review on my YouTube channel, and I was like, that's weird because I don't do that. But I might like ask them, because I have no need for it. I have a nice microphone. I don't need their entry level mic. But I've had people ask me like, what kind of microphone do you use? And I'm like, not one that you want to get if you're starting. So I might talk to them about that. So we might have like a microphone test thing on stream where I'm just like, there's a microphone, and then we keep going. But I don't know. I've never really had anyone ask me about that kind of thing before. It's weird. I've gotten more offers for like sponsorships and things in the past like few months than I've ever gotten in my like 7 years of streaming. 8? Oh, am I getting old? Maybe. So I don't know. It's not. And the only other thing I wanted to say before we dive into Disco Elysium time, is that I will not be Disco Elysiuming next week because I'm gonna be on a plane. Actually, I might be off the plane by then, but I'll be in Texas, and I will not be. I will not be sitting here in my computer. However, I will be bringing like all of my streaming stuff with me, enough to be able to continue streaming, so I should be able to manage this game just fine. And I will be staying at my mom's house sitting alone for a few weeks, so there won't be like family obligations. So you can expect, aside from next week when I'm traveling, other than that, we should have fairly uninterrupted stream times. So I will bring my Nintendo 64. Or we could just beat Paper Mario 1000 Year Door this coming Tuesday and then not have to worry about that. Anyway, there we go. I think so. Is there anything else? Did I have anything else I was supposed to talk about that I forgot to talk about? Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. Disconnect my controller? Why? What's it gonna do? It's just saying that it exists, but you can just not use it and it's fine. Unless you think I might accidentally hit the buttons on it. Chrono thinks I might like drop the controller or hit the buttons by accident. He's probably not wrong. Hi, Fall from Grace. I've seen your comments on YouTube. Some folks don't use the exact same name between the two, but some folks do, and if you do, then I think I've seen you before. That's true, Chrono. If I selected the wrong dialogue option, I would be devastated. Let's see. Is there anything else? I think we're about ready to dive on in, actually. So I don't have any, like, super big observations, I don't think, going into this. It is interesting, like... Joyce is an interesting character. Wait, hold on. I have to take a moment. Hold on. We're gonna do this. There's helicopters. I don't remember when helicopters were invented in our world relative to, like, regular flying planes. I don't actually know enough about technology to know whether that's noteworthy. I mean, it's noteworthy in that, like, I want to comment on it. Hey, wait a minute. I just realized I have the map now, don't I? This thing right here, this church. Hold on. Sorry. There we go. This church is on my map. So if I wanted to, I could look closely at this thing and get spoilers, potentially. But if you look at the city out beyond here, it looks like a more, I think it looks like a more ruined landscape. I don't know. All right. So we're going to continue talking to Joyce. Low on health, put points into endurance. No, I don't think I will. I think I'll continue to be at risk of instant death by folding chair. Thank you very much. I have more important things to put my points into, like rhetoric. Oh, man. Well, I know that helicopters are more dangerous than we think they are because they're used frequently in pop culture, but apparently they're actually pretty dangerous compared to planes, I think. This is where I'm, like, stepping into territory I don't really know. But given the level of technology that they have in this world, I'm just really curious because it's definitely less sophisticated than what we have in our world. And it's not exactly comparable to any particular era. Like, there's parallels between our technology and their technology, but it's a little different. It's a little reliant on something else. So, like more reliant on radio for things versus whatever dial-up was. All right, there we go. That is a really good way of explaining it that I think is extremely nerd appropriate. Thank you, Mac Chan. Saying I was in the Navy. Helicopters crash more than Fallout New Vegas. I've never played Fallout New Vegas, but I can appreciate that. Okay, so I'm not wrong. Helicopters are a very, like, dangerous and iffy kind of form of air transportation. And so if they have what looked a lot like helicopters, according to that not loading screen, it's a title screen. I don't know. My brain is trying to spin the Disco Elysium world around and around and around in circles. I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm trying so hard. And I have a slightly more functional brain than I've had all year. So hopefully, eventually, it will start to come together. Well, the game will start to come together. Hopefully my brain will be able to make the game start coming together. Let's take a look at some of these things here first, if that's all right. Did I get it? Oh, I leveled up. I leveled up off of talking to Joyce, didn't I? That's a much better thing to level up off of than a refrigerator. A non-working refrigerator. In a run-down apartment that was most recently lived in by squatters, even. Reality Lowdown! I put reality breakdown in the title of this stream. But I got it wrong. But it's okay because the title of the stream is also a Clarissa Explains It All reference. Which, if you were here from the very beginning, you got to hear us talking about 90s Nickelodeon shows. So, good times. And that's what you get when you come here live. You get to listen to silly things like that when we get started. So I could actually put a point in something else. What would I want to put a point in? Drama is already out of control, and I can always put on my drama shirt if I need to. I'm afraid to put on my drama shirt because I'm afraid I won't be able to take it off again. It has that feeling. Authority is sitting here like, you could put so many points in me, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm not gonna. I'd put another point in Shivers if I could, but as it is, 3 is, like, decent. I'll take it. Yes, please, sire. Don't remove the drama shirt. Yes. Yes. I have naturally good authority, and I am pumping it down, smashing it in place. What does Volition do again? I think Volition is good. I think I want this. I think I want more Volition. Cool. Sane people. Well-adjusted cops. The non-suicidal. The thing is, it's like, in character-wise, that is an interesting choice. Okay, I know we're all here to talk to Joyce, but can I just take a moment to just roll around in some thoughts like I'm a cat and it's catnip on the floor? Just making a mess. It's like, what are you doing? Tangent entertainment time. Whoop, 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 whoop. No. So, I'm in a weird place at the thought of role-playing Harry versus playing a video game as Ocelot, if that distinction makes sense. Because, like I said, it's like I've said many times, I built him out to reflect the kind of things that I'm going to, like the conclusions I'm going to jump to and the things that I'm going to think about, which has really paid off quite well, I think, in making my gameplay experience in some ways line up with my Lauren experience, which is great because it's so frustrating when you solve a thing and your character doesn't, and you're like, what do I have to click on? Like, having problems playing like Phoenix Wright style games because you've already jumped a few steps, and you therefore have to kind of figure out what kind of steps you have to take to get to the conclusion that you've already jumped to. So this little like tag team of rhetoric and empathy is very good for Lauren's general enjoyment of this game. But we have seen Harry's personality come through prior to us getting our hands on him. Now, it is possible because the people who made this game are a little bit insane in their level of dedication to writing many words that are optional and a bazillion flags. Like, I'm just like, you guys are gluttons for punishment with the amount of effort that must have taken. It is obsessive. It is entirely possible that the content of past Harry might actually vary based on your playthrough. I don't know though, because the content of past Harry that we've gotten is not entirely consistent with how I've played past Harry, or how I've played present Ocelot. And so it may be that Harry is Harry in the past. The varied Harrys. Oh my god, we can just keep going with that. That's a good sound to rhyme with in English. There's a few choices you can have there. But thinking about it, like, what are we? Okay, there's a lot of stuff I'm sure I haven't seen, and we'll go back to this later. But thinking about what I have seen of Harry in the past, I have seen reference to his... Oh, thank you, turkey on rye. Excellent. Do you take it with mustard? A good brown mustard if you're going to have a good deli sandwich on rye. It's the way to go, man. And only full dill pickles. None of this half sour garbage. Oh, excuse me. This is Disco Elysium. I can swear. None of this half sour bullshit. Sorry, I'm mad with power. Oh my goodness, turkey on rye. Well, thank you for the gift subs. That's very nice of you. That's really wow. Well, thank you. So as I was saying before I got distracted by the thought of delicious deli sandwiches. Good, spicy mustard is a good choice. So I'm making a distinction between Harry and Ocelot here. Harry is his self prior to my getting my hands on him, basically. So when I'm talking about the things we know about Harry, I'm talking about the things that we have seen evidence of from his past self. Whereas the kind of blank slate that we pick up on that doesn't want to go by Harry, that doesn't want to connect with that, like, I'm for convenience's sake, and also because I like it and I think it's funny, I'm gonna continue calling him Ocelot. Blue glass. Okay, very well done. The varied Harrys merrily carry Larry as they tarry on the ferry. Good job. That is outstanding. I approve of that. But yeah, no, and I will continue calling him Ocelot as I play him. But I do think that there is value to using these as ways of kind of like differentiating his experiences. Because when we're given the choice when we're given the choice to role play out a character who actually has prior personality, there's a couple of ways to do that. In the original Deus Ex, J.C. Denton has a personality and relationships with people. He is an existing entity in the world, and so he's got a lot of variety that he can do. But the options that you can choose all wind up being consistent with who he is. He also doesn't have like the strongest sense of personality, but it's there. He has a personality. And most games that have a lot of variety in what you can do don't give you a character with predetermined personality and predetermined backstory, because the personality that you develop with that character might contradict an existing backstory. Like, that's one of the limitations of BioWare. I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop. But what they've set themselves up with here is interesting because, so as I understand it, I think this was the writing team that wrote Planescape Torment, which I have not played but am aware of through reputation. And if I remember correctly, that has a similar setup where your character comes to consciousness. I think you might get like brought back from the dead. I think you might be a revenant or something, but I'm not sure. But then you have to like figure out who you were before you were brought back to consciousness. but there's like a disconnect there. And I don't know if they also had to solve a similar problem here. Okay, maybe it's not the same team, but it was inspired by. That would make sense too. Okay, so it's not the same team, but it's inspired by. Okay. So you can say this is an indirect spiritual successor of that game. Got it. I'm gonna roll with that. No, they've set up a challenge because they can either make Harry not have a personality and backstory. So whatever you do with Ocelot, we can assume that was what Harry was before. Or you can give Harry a personality and give Ocelot a more limited number of things he can do that are in line with Harry. Or you can do what these absolute nutjobs did and do both at the same time. And the problem is that you run the risk of having it feel really inconsistent. And in this case, I think one of the ways that they've set themselves up for success rather than failure in doing that, so that it doesn't feel like one of the problems that I have with the way that systems with simplistic good versus evil dialogue choices is that you can go from kicking puppies to helping grandma across the road back and forth and back and forth, and it works because it's more of a mechanics thing than it is a role-playing thing if we're interpreting role-playing as being a consistent person. And when you have this much variety and you have this predetermined past self, the disconnect between the two could feel really artificial and jarring. And so there's a couple of things that I think they have going for them here, and I have yet to see. But one of them is that Harry is a person with extreme opposite traits in his past, as far as we know at this point, allowing for a variety of personality types that we play out now to have its roots in who he was then. We don't have a lot to go off of at this point, but I'm going oh god, don't get me started about Fable. That's a whole thing. Because I've actually played all the way through, I think 2 of them. But we know that Harry was capable of a great deal of love and inspiring a very good person to be absolutely devoted and loving to him. We know that from the card. This woman that he has lost in some way. The way that she talks about or to him in this card paints a picture of a person. And that's kind of like the high point of Harry as we know now. And it actually is kind of surprising because it seems like a far distant before he was broken version of him. And then as we start digging through his clipboard and we see like kind of like the depths of just how bad, like just how awful some of his actions are, how out of control of his body he was, and how indulging kind of his worst self, like how little control he had over that. It's a pretty broad spectrum between a man who is kind and in love and inspires love and devotion from somebody good-hearted, as far as we can tell, to somebody who will bludgeon somebody to permanent disability with his like blunt object. Like that's a big range. And so they have painted themselves, like, rather than like winding up in like a little corner, they've given themselves a broad canvas that you can do things on. But also, and I am not a psychologist. I do not have a lot of formal training on this sort of thing at all. But I do believe that if you have like a traumatic brain experience, it can trigger a personality change as well. And I think that's usually traumatic brain injuries, but I believe it can also be like triggered by illness. So presumably if he did enough damage to his brain with the alcohol, he could have triggered something like that as well. So it could be plausible that his personality would shift even from the spectrum of Harry that we have seen in the like glimpses of the past. So that's an interesting thing that they've done. And I'm interested in it. But so it makes me wonder. I find myself a lot of times trying to figure out well, this is how I play games. This is what I do. This is also sometimes how I watch television shows and read books. So another person may find it more engrossing to not do this. But that's totally fine. But I'm not that person. So speculating about whether that person would have more enjoyment experiencing the game in a different way could be fun for you, but it's at this point it's speculation. Sorry. And also, frankly, I'll tell you that I enjoy this part more. I find the game part, enough of the game uncomfortable, that this is my comfort zone. This kind of picking apart stuff is the stuff that's safe and fun and comfortable for me. Diving into things that make me uncomfortable and make me want to pull away is less. So this is my Disco Elysium experience, and I'm a little puzzled about suggesting that I play it differently. But yeah, for me, I have a tendency, if I know that the character has a predetermined personality, I generally want to try to play that character in a way that's true to them, which is interesting in Deltarune. Which I'll gloss over that for anyone who hasn't played Deltarune, but Deltarune does have some interesting things that I think it's exploring about the idea of players versus character agency, which is a bit uncomfortable for someone who wants to be respectful of the character's identity and therefore the character's decisions and the character's agency. And so part of me wants to do that and be true to Harry as I understand him. But part of me is also like, I'm not going to play somebody who would bludgeon a person until they can't walk anymore. Like, that's just not fun or comfortable for me. And so I'm going to force, to some degree, I'm going to force Harry to be the kind of person I want to play. And that maybe isn't entirely consistent with him as Harry, but I'm playing him as Ocelot. And so the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm thinking about putting a point in Volition, because if I'm trying to play an Ocelot who is trying to stay on the straight and narrow, who's trying to have some self-control, not do drugs and have problems there, and so on. And if I'm trying to make my gameplay experience a little easier, Volition seems really powerful for that. And so that to me feels like a good choice. But at the same time, I would say that Harry, as we have seen him in the recent past, is kind of defined by a lack of volition. You know? Like, this is not a man who has massive amounts of self-control. He does not have massive amounts of sanity. He is not really well adjusted. He is not non-suicidal. All of those things are not attributes of who he is, as far as we've seen them. And so it's really interesting that of all of these attributes, I have no reason to believe that he should have low points in any of them based on Harry, except for Volition. Volition is the one and the only one that feels like it is not true to Harry. But I have a lot of points in it. And I could put more points in it. And it is very central to the way that I'm playing Ocelot. And that's interesting. And it's a little bit, like, uncomfortable for my brain to try to reconcile these things. Because, like I've said, my tendency is trying to be respectful to the character's predetermined personality. If I'm going to play a character, I'll try to play that character. Otherwise, why am I playing that character? But that's not what they're doing in this. They are giving you him as a relative blank slate. And to a certain degree, you're getting a second chance. Like, I think this whole thing kind of is... Ocelot is Harry's second chance at life. And we know that he's not happy as Harry. That's kind of the point. So it's perhaps more respectful of his wishes to try to do something new and good and better and different. But it's really curious, like, for me, like, well, from a meta perspective, where do I fit into this? Am I one part of Harry's fractured psyche that is now taking charge? Am I the overmind of Ocelot? I don't know, man. I don't know. I just know that Volition is what I want to put a point into. But I cannot overthink everything. There was something funny where, like, when Neha was throwing the dice and someone was like, the game says don't overthink it. Ocelot overthinks it. Lauren overthinks it. And I was like, yeah. That's just what you get. And seriously, you could put me in front of, like, Air Buddies, like some absolutely, like, don't think too hard about it movie, and I will try to be like, but what is, and the people are just like, Lauren, stop. No, there is no substance to this movie. Stop trying to think about it. Can't not. So. So yeah. Volition is the anti-Harry as we've seen him most recently. Volition urges you to be a good guy. I hope you don't mind I read these things out loud, like, every time I think about them. This will probably be like the third or fourth time I've read Volition out loud, but it's relevant. This is what we're doing. Volition urges you to be a good guy to others and to yourself. It enables you to resist temptation, be it in a bottle, between a pair of legs, or at the end of an iron barrel which promises oblivion. Volition gives you the will to finish the investigation, improving your morale, one of the 2 health pools in the game. At high levels, Volition makes you hyper-sane. When you're about to get funky, it keeps you normal. It's a bit of a party pooper. At low levels, however, you'll have little morale. Without it, you'll be a profoundly unstable cop, falling apart at the seams as you make irreversible mistakes. I feel like if I go too far with Volition, that could be unfun. However, I'm already a wet blanket. I'm already a stick in the mud. So I might as well make Ocelot one too. Why don't you pick the clown shoes options, Lauren? They're funny. Because I don't have a sense of humor, folks. And I don't like comedy. Let's level this up. So Ocelot and I can both be spoil sports. We can both be killjoys. Yeah. Alright, we're gonna do that. Alright, everybody. That happened. I have no idea, and I'm nervous about my points getting too high, but not nervous enough to not put more points in rhetoric. Alright. But I've been pretty satisfied so far with my build. Done. What did I finish? Oh! finished the reality lowdown. I did that, but there's more. I have no idea how high it even goes. I know it can go above 10, which would be my expectation for a cutoff, so I don't know. Man. It's wild. All right. Well, folks, are you ready to do what you're waiting for? Apparently everyone's really excited about more Joyce. Let's Joyce. Hi, Winter, Water, Snow. Welcome back. Well, but the thing is, Barano, my sense of a power fantasy is to try to help people. And playing this wackadoodle brain damaged cop allows me to meddle and try to fix things for people too, and that's really satisfying. And that's why we're never going to take the hat of friendship off. Mostly. If we do, it's temporary. That's part of my character design now. I will see pictures of Ocelot without a hat now. I'll be like, where is your hat, sir? You put your hat back on your head. Anyway, let's Joyce. Yeah, well, the idea that you can take somebody this damaged and traumatized and broken and work hard at it and make him okay somehow, like, I don't know how many of us think of ourselves as being kind of broken and damaged and traumatized, but like maybe if we work at that, we can make ourselves okay too. And that's pretty fucking powerful. So that's a power fantasy I will happily indulge in. So there. This is what I mean. I'm very serious all the time. I'm gonna talk about serious things seriously. Let's go talk to Joyce.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with? Not an umbrella, I hope. I don't need one myself, you see.
She pats her wet raincoat. Oh, this is like a different bit of conversation. Hold on, I'm gonna turn the volume up. The intro section is too loud. So I can say, I could use a coat like that. The rain is freezing. Or I can say, neither do I. Pat your similarly wet cloak. See, it's recognizing that I have the cloak on. Or I can just say, no need. Tell me something. Alright, sorry, hold on. Do I have a reason to care about one of these lines of dialogue over the other? I have no idea, actually. I don't think I have a reason to care about one of these over the other. So let us go with... Because if I ask her about the coat, she may tell me where I can get one. But I have a cloak, and I like it. I look cool with my hat and my cloak. I'm a true detective. So I'm going to pat my similarly wet cloak. I'm also just excited that I have the cloak, and that's triggered this particular line of dialogue that I have. I would have had different things to say if I was wearing something different. So we're going to choose this one because it's special to my playthrough.
Very rugged. Good choice. Now, I suspect you had questions. Nothing like talking to pass a rainy day. Am I right?
She nods in approval at my cloak. Our friendship just went up by a point. It's like two Sims. And like you see the little like plus over them. And you're like, okay, that was a good topic of conversation. Okay. I'm gonna ask some more about reality because I can. We're gonna dive on into this. There's more serious stuff to talk about. We'll get to that.
More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of the day. Go ahead, ask me anything.
She likes this. Okay. So we can do think of something close to me, or we can reach for something fundamental. I'm really excited about both of these. Yes, it's an AMA. Joyce. I don't remember what her last name is, if I know it. Let's start with number 4. Like, I want to... Okay, actually, no, I want... We could start with the little ones and then do the big ones. Let's ease into it. Let's have a little appetizer here. What is this acute encephalopathy? Encephalopathy. We'll ask this.
It's a neurological disorder caused by a lack of vitamin B in the brain. Symptoms include a retrograde amnesia. It's quite serious. You should get yourself checked out.
Honestly, if you are having problems with memory or focus or energy or a lot of other things like that that seem to be more stubborn than just like a little like downturn that comes back, see if you can get a blood test from your doctor to test your like various levels of vitamins and minerals and things like that in your body, because let me tell you, not having enough iron can fuck you up, as it turns out, and I'm pretty sure that's true for a lot of things. And if this is correct, if what she's talking about here, this lack of vitamin B, is true, man, get your vitamins, folks. You need nutrients to live. It's very important. That's my wisdom, my hard-earned wisdom given to you.
She conveys it in short, cold bursts, trying not to invest too deeply in the condition of this doomed detective.
She's trying not to care too much. She's like, you should get it looked at, not that I care. I can tell you all about foods that are high in iron, but I will say this. Try to take things that are high in vitamin C with the things that are high in iron. Whether if you're taking iron supplements, take them with like some orange juice or something. Or like tomato pairs really well, like tomato sauce with beef. If you're making like spaghetti or something like that. That helps you absorb the iron. Yes, fun fact, alcohol and amphetamines contain no vitamins. Yeah, they're not really... Harry did not do Ocelot any favors in that regard.
In case he goes down later, souring the entire portfolio.
Oh my god, Rhetoric. I love that, like, Rhetoric is trying to say, like, she's not getting invested in him in case he gets bad, but Rhetoric puts it in the language of the business person. I know you've got a lot riding on me. I want you down. Or what causes encephalopathy?
Well, it's either bariatric surgery or long-term alcohol use.
Yeah, I actually know someone with a family member who had bariatric surgery and therefore has to get iron infusions because she cannot absorb enough iron from the food that she eats to have to live. And I'm like, that's a problem. I'm worried for you. So, okay, they have that level of advanced physical surgery, but interestingly low technology compared to our modern society. Well, I don't know how old bariatric surgery is, so. All right. It's definitely the drinking. I could say it's probably from surgery then, but I'm going to go with it's definitely the drinking.
She nods slowly.
Yes, and perform autoerotic asphyxiation on yourself with your funny necktie, out in the open somewhere.
And this is why we've got me and Volition here to push back against the necktie, because what? No. I like that you can just ignore it. You're just like, anyway. Okay, we'll try this. What is this? Spread your hands.
A bird? A sphenicid? A flightless bird of the polar regions?
Okay, what she's doing? She's acting as though you're playing charades. So she's guessing, I guess, that I'm a penguin. Is that the scientific name of penguins? I don't know that. I don't know. I'm not a biology person. I'm sorry. I only know the random bits of biology that stuck around in my brain after middle school. So I can either say, keep guessing, am I really that awkward? Or, I meant, what is this place here? Okay, keep guessing actually could be really fun. Am I really that awkward? Sounds like a really sad conversation. Oh, it totally is penguins! Thank you for looking that up. Okay, that's excellent. Good job. See, flightless bird of the polar regions tells me that it's a penguin, so, but I didn't know if that was actually related to a word in our real world. And it is amazing. Look at all these things we're learning. We are collectively encyclopedia. But penguins don't, they usually like down there, they don't like walk around like this. Like, hi, penguin. I don't know. It could be not extinct in this world. We don't know that. I don't think I want to pick two. This could be fun. Or this is serious. I'm gonna be serious. I'm gonna be boring. Although the thing is, I've been asking her a lot about this place.
Ah. This is the pier of Rue de Saint-Ghislain, 33A, where the tenants have been kind enough to rent me a slot.
Okay, so what's fun here is that you have your arms out, and she mirrors you, spreading her arms out too. Like, she's really having fun with this. I mean, we know that actually, apparently, underneath all of this is a streak of guilt and self-loathing of her own. Not enough for her to act on it, mind, but it's there. But at least superficially, when it comes to functioning day to day, this is a woman who feels comfortable and at ease.
Or two.
She looks around. Okay, red is Rue de Saint. How did she say it? It's not. It says not Ghislaine. It's Ghislaine. 33A. I think she realizes that she can be wacky around you because you're cuckoo banana pants. So she lets it out. I don't think she usually indulges quite this much, but I think she's like, what is this crazy cop gonna do? Okay, yeah, I'll be wacky back at him just a little.
A pre-revolutionary tenement. Old buildings are called tenements, you see. And new buildings, bâtiments. After, les bâtiments nouveaux. But 33A and 33B are not nouveaux. They're old.
She looks up at the crumbling facade. So that must be that apartment building then.
This one used to be 8 to 10 stories tall. A real high-rise by the standards of the last century. Built to mirror the skyscrapers across the bay in the Delta. That was before the war, of course.
That is quite tall. In the last century. So it's been here for quite some time. Pre-revolutionary, yeah. Okay, this is my I grew up in the US showing, I know. Because I'm like, wow, a building from like that's like 100 years old? What? Or even like 80 years old? Because I'm like, man, the building. Well, actually, the building that I live in now is probably from like the 70s. And it's currently the 20s. So like, that's 50 years. I guess that's pretty old by my standards. Alright, who lived in them?
Mostly the urban middle class, I believe. This was once primo real estate, before the cannons lopped 4 or 5 stories off.
That is just such like a strong... Like, there's something really visceral about imagining shooting floors of a building off that, like, having never, like, lived through war or lived in a place that had been through war in any meaningful way, like, I didn't know that that was a thing. I didn't know that you could do that. I didn't know that you could shoot stories off of a building and then have a building there, the lower floors are still functional. Like, I have no frame of reference for that. So this is, like, entirely confusing.
Splat, splat.
Oh, hey, Cindy! From a dilapidated balcony, Cindy the Skull gives Joyce the evil eye, her red paintbrush held at her throat. Man, Cindy's gonna be mad at me for how much time I've spent talking to Joyce here. That's okay. So this is a skull that she painted. I don't think I saw or noticed that yesterday. Because I didn't go up. I don't think I went up and talked to her.
Wonderful.
Alright. Let's see what she has to say. Oh, if I point at Cindy, Cindy's not going to like that. Let's go ahead and dive into what is something close to me. Let's see. I'm curious what this something close to me is going to be. Because all of these points in it are RCM specific. Well, they could still lose this, which would be unfortunate. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, esprit de corps. This is something to do with the cops. What is?
6 kilometers southwest in the Valley of Dogs, Junior Officer Chad Tilbrook takes aim at a rabid black dog licking its wounds in the grass.
Okay.
To his left, his partner, Emil Mullins, whispers, "You heard what happened to Tequila Sunset in Martinaise?" "Yes, he lost his mind," Tilbrook answers, fingers on the trigger. "Don't worry, Emil. He pulls it out slowly. Slowly now. He'll find it again."
I mean, Tequila Sunset refers to my character here. Yeah, that's... 'cause there's not a lot you can do about rabies, as I understand it, once you're infected, or once they're infected. But yeah, that's a pretty heavy thing. Like, people are very sensitive to dogs dying. And the juxtaposition here of putting down the dog that is sick and cannot come back from it, with having faith in Ocelot, like the he'll find it again, he'll find his mind again. That's interesting. That's just really interesting.
"We always do."
Ah, I suppose that is what Kim says. Kim recognizes what is going on with Ocelot. While Ocelot is an extreme case, he has seen things like what's going on with Ocelot before. The we. That is interesting. What am I?
You're an officer of the RCM.
She says energetically. The Revachol Citizens Militia?
Preciso mundo.
Good. And what is the Revachol Citizens Militia?
Nothing more nor less than the de facto law enforcement body of post-revolutionary Revachol, Detective.
when they put it like that, Revolution and Revachol side by side, really, that has to have at least been something they thought about when they chose to name this location. Okay, yeah, I was under the impression that rabies was basically, once it's there, it's there. That's why it's so important to vaccinate your animals against it.
Yes, we are the Revachol Citizens Militia.
Interesting, Kim.
He's being sarcastic.
What are you doing? What is your sarcasm doing here, Kim? I don't understand. For once, rhetoric has picked up on something that I have not picked up on, and now I'm trying to catch up. Hold on. Like, I don't see the sarcasm here. Like, to me, it feels like what he's trying to do is he's inserting himself into this conversation, and I'm curious about because, like, he could be trying to, like, protect me from her. He could be trying to remind her of himself and the fact that there are multiple cops present. Are we? Or you said de facto? Which we've heard some of that explanation already. I'm gonna say, are we?
We are.
Okay. Kim asserts that. Like, I feel like to some degree, though, Kim is claiming, and he's like kind of claiming Ocelot and like attaching, like, to me this feels more like kind of like we're in this together as a reminder, both to Joyce and to Ocelot. But I don't know. I can't read this one at all. I'm not sure what he's doing. You said de facto?
Yes. That means not de jure. The RCM acts in what is poetically called the twilight of international law, both at the behest of the coalition government and to its chagrin.
To its chagrin, amazing. I love that she uses the poetic euphemism while acknowledging it. Poetic euphemism. Acts in the twilight of international law, meaning that international law itself doesn't reach all the way out here fully. Because twilight means that, like, a little bit of light still reaches. Which is very poetic. No, that is. Somebody thought they were really within the context of the game world. Somebody came up with this phrasing, and they thought that this was a beautiful and eloquent, expressive way of conveying that backwards place. Also, the writer, the writer of the game who wrote that line, can be proud of themselves for writing a good line. Let's see. Chagrin is a good word. So I can say, what do you mean? Or that's it for the who I am part. No, I'm going to say, what do you mean? I really want to hear about to its chagrin, what exactly that means here. I have some ideas, but...
The RCM's responsibilities are defined by the Emergency, Wayfarer and Aliments Acts, 3 pieces of legislation keeping the city in a, let's be honest, laissez-faire stasis to the benefit of foreign capital.
It's so wild because Joyce, like, she's profiting off of this. She's the man. She's the system. But she's also genuinely angry about the way things work. And so when she says to the benefit of foreign capital, like, there's bitterness in there, but she's also benefiting from it kind of shamelessly. And she hates herself for it, but she still does it. Joyce is very realistic. In fact, I would say the fact that she cares as much as she does is like actually like, oh wow, Joyce. Because I've known people like that. So they keep the city as it is, and they just let what happens happens. They're not going to intervene to make it any better or really any worse. Like, let it make its own mess and profit off of it.
All three are good to know when we are out policing.
The lieutenant looks up from his notes. Oh man, oh. So I'm basically a lackey of capital. So I'm basically a thrall to foreign interests. So I'm basically one of the good guys. So I'm basically going to avoid this subject and ask the next question in this line of inquiry. Oh man. I did actually take at least one of the like cop-out answers last time around. I'm not going to this time. A lackey of capital, a thrall to foreign interests. One of the good guys. Well. Of all of these, well, but he's a cop, so the line of inquiry, like, that seems very professional. Occasionally, Ocelot can be a professional. He managed to be a cop before we got our hands on him. He seems to have maybe solved some cases. So, honestly, I think the best description of the RCM and their situation is to say a thrall to foreign interest. So I'm gonna go with that. Because that seems like the most appropriate response to what we're talking about right here, which is basically these outsiders have fucked everything up. Now, underlying that is their, like, rampant, all-powerful capitalism. But let's go with that. See what happens.
There's nothing basic about your role, Detective. It's true that the RCM keeps everything the way our seemingly permanent provisional rulers like it.
She leans in. Man, now that I know to listen for it, like, she's really bitter about, in her own Joyce way, she's really bitter about our capitalist overlords that are from other countries. Oh man. Speaking of cops. So I went to a counter-protest yesterday because there has been a push by some more conservative elements in Canada for anti-trans legislation, funded, shockingly, by, like, US evangelicals and people like that. And the same people who were powering the freedom convoys up here. So they decided that they were going to protest nationwide. They were going to try to make a big stink. So the rest of us decided to show up and counter protest them. And the nice thing is we outnumbered them 10-1 in Toronto, at least. But I have never seen so many cops in my life. Most of my protesting has been in, like, very, like, non-dangerous situations, relatively speaking. So, and I am a, white person with privilege there, so it's not been something I've had to worry too much about. But I was like, holy shit. There was, standing to one side, 5 mounted police. So yes, those are the Mounties on their horses. Just 5 of them standing side by side by side by side by side. And then there's like a cluster of like 5 on foot, and a cluster of like 10 on foot, and like another cluster of like 13 on foot, like, and more. Like, just, I have never seen so many cops in one place. And like at one point, because a bunch of the counter protesters that we were with, like, they relocated, and we didn't realize they relocated, so we were trying to figure out like where is everyone going. And so like 3 of us like kind of like walked off to one side to like take a look, and a bunch of cops just like started coming at us, and we like were just like walking and looking, and fairly, I would think, non-threatening looking people, but we just like kind of went the other way. And when we actually relocated with everyone to where the protesters we were counter protesting were, after a while, some of the more experienced protesters were kind of going around and like finding people like us who were clearly new to this and not the most well equipped. And we're like, just so you know, like, there are more cops on the way. You should probably get out of here. And so we did. Fortunately, it doesn't seem like there were any altercations, but Jesus Christ, it was like, I mean, I know, rationally speaking, they are here to protect property, and probably more of them side with the conservatives than the beautifully queer weirdos that we were. But, like, you think they're there to prevent a clash between the two sides. But, like, I'm pretty sure when the 3 of us were just kind of looking, the reason why the cops were descending on us is because they were concerned we might do property damage. God forbid. What are we gonna do? Spray paint something? Gasp. The horror. So that was a thing and an experience. And I was fine, and I suspected I probably would be, because it's Toronto, middle of the day, not anticipating major trouble. There's going to be a lot of people who are, like, lighter protesters rather than, like, the people who really know what they're doing and can dig in. My fun bit after that, I hope you don't mind, this is story time with Lauren, was, so my friends and I were leaving after the experienced protesters, like, gave us the warning that we might want to head out, which I appreciate. I mean, you could tell, like, we weren't, you know, I'm not an experienced protester. I haven't been in the trenches. And so it's a good idea. Like, it's actually kind of a problem for everybody if too many people like me are around when things get serious, because we don't know how to take care of ourselves. We become a liability. But so I was leaving, and there were these 2 older women coming up, coming like with like confidence and clear intent, like walking towards the group of everybody. And like they were like older, graying. One of them had, I think, like a Dykes for Trans Kids or something like that shirt on. And I like went up to them and I was like, just so you know, like they just came and let us know that like the cops are coming in. So we might want to clear out. And like this lady's like, one of them just like looks at me with this like, oh honey, and she's like, yeah, we know, we saw them. And then just like keep on going. And I was like, right, in the presence of the queer elders, who am I to warn them about the cops? Because you could just see they were just like, that's adorable. All right, baby, you go home, we'll take care of this. Anyway, yeah. All cops are bastards. Anyway, that's my story time. Yeah, no, it was honestly though, there was something really inspiring about, just because they were like walking with such confidence, these women, just like walking with such confidence to the demonstration, that like I was like, they must not know, and they were like, no, they did know, and that's why. And I was just like, damn, I want to be cool like you. I need to learn. And so like ideally eventually I will get to the point where, like, I mean, ideally we won't need to have protests and counter protests and things like that, but as long as that sort of thing's going to be happening, I would like to become a person who is not the liability who is asked to leave before things get serious. But we do what we can. Anyway. Disco Elysium time. I'm just assuming that everybody here already knows this, but in case you're on the fence, like, trans rights are human rights. Trans kids deserve to do what is necessary to keep them happy, healthy, and alive. If you are a trans person who is having to deal with persecution, I'm really sorry. There's a lot of us who are going to do what we can to fight to protect you and help you. And I hope that you have some sort of support system in place, because you absolutely deserve to be loved and be yourself and not have to worry about hateful bullshit when you're just trying to live your life. So, yeah, I'm sorry that shit keeps happening. But, like, we have the progress flag here for a reason. You come for any of us, you're gonna get all of us. So yeah. All my heart. Transphobes, there's a little X button you can hit. And clear right out. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, for anyone who's watching me for the first time for any reason, welcome. This is a queer space, and we make no efforts to hide that. My chat hat that I use to indicate that I want help from chat is, in fact, a flag. So, there we go. Politics. Politics? In my Disco Elysium? Never. Let's see what kind of shenanigans Joyce is gonna say.
Yet, on the other hand, I know these people. I deal with them daily. Let me tell you, dear, they are not fans of you.
Disco unpolitical. Oh my god, I love the image of, if you, like, come for one queer person, we all descend like chickens in Zelda. That's amazing. I love that. Okay, that's fun. All right, so Joyce here is, so she has to deal with these people, and I'm sure she puts on a delightful and charming face, because she certainly doesn't want to jeopardize her own power, safety, and security, but she also probably tells herself that she needs to be able to keep where she is so that she can manage their ability to damage her country further. And there's probably some truth to that, too. Even if it's also the thing that she reassures herself so that she can feel slightly less guilty and maybe get a little more sleep at night. I mean, some triangles, I have seen that sort of thing. I would say that's not limited to queer folks. I would say that's kind of a problem that folks in progressive circles in general tend to have. You can't go after the people with power who are saying or doing something really hurtful. So you ask perfection from your fellows and go after them because you have the power to do that. And there's kind of an unfortunate focus on purity, which is part of why I am so wary of ideological purity as a thing. People are messy, and we're allowed to be messy, and especially young people, because God knows I had plenty of shitty things that I said and did when I was younger, trying to find how the world worked, because I was raised by a libertarian economist in Texas. Okay? I had a big heart and some dumbass misunderstandings of how the world worked that I had to unlearn pretty solidly. But I had space to do that. Although I did have one friend who was really, really nasty to me in the process, in a way that was not justified or right. But I learned and got better. Because you gotta unlearn things, you gotta deprogram yourself. And it's hard work, man. But it's super important. I mean, hell, it took me until my 30s to come out, so... You can be sure it did a number on me internally, too. That's fine. It's fine. But I was a pretty loud ally before I came out, so there's that. Alright. So... Hope you don't mind me just rambling about some of the stuff as we go, because I know this is a conversation everyone wants to have, and I'm busy, like, story time about battling cops and inspiring old queerdos and things. I don't know, man, I don't know. But this sort of thing is why, like, I have known more people like Joyce in my life, or worse, than a lot of the other people in this game. Because of the circumstances of, like, where I grew up. So it's interesting. And I didn't like Joyce until we kind of started seeing her self-loathing that's underneath it. And I think she genuinely feels that way. And I think it genuinely bothers her. And I think she tries to push it down as much as she possibly can. And I think she makes excuses for herself to justify what she does. Because people are complicated that way. And you can judge someone on their lack of taking action. And that's all right. But people are able to genuinely believe something and also not take action and be complicated in that way. It's interesting stuff. I worry sometimes that I make too many excuses for myself. So. All right. So. She's basically saying the RCM does what our capitalist overlords want. But then our capitalist overlords hate you. Or hate the RCM anyway. So then we ask, why?
The post-revolutionary decade was a disaster for the coalition government. Revachol in the 20s was hell, especially on the west side of the river. Gang warfare, a botched privatization scheme, a nuclear pile meltdown.
A nuclear pile meltdown sounds like a bit of a problem. Nuclear meltdown, that's just, those are not words you want to hear with each other. Because the coalition government, I imagine, to some degree wants to feel like, or at least be able to claim that they're on the moral high ground. And, well, we fucked up that place so badly that they are riddled with gang warfare. Our attempts to bring capitalism to them by privatizing things is just fucked up. And also something nuclear went wrong. Well, that's some moral high ground you've got to stand on right there.
They called it the International Zone, because no nation wanted to claim responsibility. The RCM restored peace where the coalition failed. A true blue citizens' initiative. They will never forgive you.
They couldn't fix it. It wasn't until the locals fixed it, fixing this themselves, that it started getting any better. Huh. That is interesting. And I imagine that the people in the coalition tell themselves that they're heroes. And this is a reminder that they are not. And they hate that. People really don't like things that threaten their sense of self, that threaten their sense of identity and ability to identify themselves as good people. So.
That's somewhat of an exaggeration. In reality, ours is a mutually beneficial arrangement.
How interesting! Oh, man! Oh, what are you gonna say, Kim? It's fascinating. Well, because, like, I mean, for me, it's absolutely clear that the coalition are bad guys. Now, there's room for there to be multiple bad guys. In fact, we could potentially have every organized group be bad guys. And only individuals are good guys. But it's so interesting because, like, so when Joyce trash talks the coalition, I'm just like, that's valid and fair. Even though I don't agree with Joyce on a lot of things, I'm like, yeah, that checks out. And so for Kim to come along and kind of defend, actually, though, but then again, I don't know that Kim is necessarily defending the coalition. I think Kim may simply be asserting the value and power of the RCM, either because he's got, I mean, we know he's got a lot of like pride in the Force. Also, maybe he doesn't want Joyce to feel like she's got more power in the situation. I think May You Live in Interesting Times is always a curse. I think that's the point of it. All right, so a mutually beneficial arrangement. Thing is, I don't know that Kim exactly believes this. I think he's disagreeing with Joyce on principle.
Ravacholians get to keep the peace in Ravachol, and the coalition doesn't have to worry about it. Anyway, sorry to intrude. Please continue.
That's interesting. Okay, so he spoke up. I think he spoke up because he wants to. I think he just wants to defend the Force. He's like, no, the Force, like we are important. The RCM is important, and we are able to do things. And don't you dare trash talk us and call us their lapdogs, or watchdogs, or whatever. We're important, and we're saving Revachol. And don't you talk down. I mean, anyway, I'm gonna sit down again. What? I'm not participating. I don't care. You guys can talk about anything. Don't you dare trash talk RCM. Yeah. Because like the fact that he like coughs is that he realizes Kim is frequently very in control of himself. But he lost control here. He is offended on behalf of the RCM. He's like, don't you dare badmouth them.
Yes, Lieutenant. Permit me to conclude with this. Who you are, to me, is the police. The only legitimate law enforcement authority in Revachol.
So I can either say, thank you, ma'am, I can say nothing, or I can say back to those basic terms of reality then. His composure. Yes, Kim lost his composure role. I like that. I like that. I think that may be something we have to reference later. When because Kim is pretty good about keeping his cool. But sometimes like when you're like, hey, let's be like ridiculous goofballs, he's like, man, I sure do like a piece of technology. Yeah, let's be goofballs together. And sometimes he gets worked up and he just blurts things out. Like this. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong in saying thank you, ma'am. Kim might not like it, but whatever. It's fine. Thank you, ma'am.
And if those authorities drink so hard they need help recalling the basic terms of reality, well, I'm here to help.
I think she finds this funny. And I can understand why. It makes her life interesting. Alright, so I can ask, what was the RCM again? Okay, so what is that? Point to Cindy the Skull. I'm curious what she's going to say about Cindy, but Cindy will probably respond to that. Shall we ask her an existential question, folks? Okay, yeah, we'll save. That's a good point.
Glad to have been of assistance.
Let's save. And then we'll go ask her an existential question.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with?
Reality.
More lessons in basic reality? My favorite part of the day. Go ahead, ask me anything.
She loves this. All right. Man, it is 8:11 p.m. in game. I have spent so much of this day talking to Joyce. All right. Let's do this. Let's get existential. Hopefully we won't get snake eyes. If we do, I guess we'll have to load. Let's go for it.
What is all of this? The scent, the sound, the air.
To which I can ask, what world is this? Game, if I am in a pocket dimension that is experimental and somebody is watching it through some sort of weird technology thing, will you give me a hint? It's Probably not. It's probably just take it all at face value for what it is, but... Well, I did kind of break the reality lowdown into multiple sessions, so there's that. What world is this? The game just didn't realize how long it took me to play the game. I'm gonna Lauren it up.
What world? The only one, I suppose. The world of matter. And its pale antipode.
Isn't that the name of one of the team-up attacks in Chrono Trigger? Isn't that Marl and Lucas? Thank you. Fire and ice, if I remember correctly. Joyce is a huge Chrono Trigger fan. Probably. The fading pearls of her eyes look to the sea. You can write purple prose like that and it's fine. You can do it. You don't have to pare down your writing to like dry mechanics. Yeah. Take that, Ernest Hemingway. Antipode is the name of one of the team-up attacks. I want the purplest prose. I write the purplest prose. I am super on board with it, and I will fight to defend the honor of purple prose. Damn it. I guess swear. It's very exciting.
The camera of her mind glides over the surface of the water.
We are doing this. What do you see? Matter and its opposite, I suppose, to some degree. What does that even mean? What do you see?
Great bodies of water. Forest-covered surfaces. Clusters of light where the cities lie. You've seen the montage. We all have. This world is enough.
What montage? I guess probably some sort of video of the whole world somehow. Like going from place to place. Unless they have satellites.
There is a term of endearment they coined for it. In the DeLorean century. When humanity was high on this world. Discovering more and more of it. These archipelagos included.
Okay, we've had bits about the DeLorean. What is
Elysium.
Are you serious? What's interesting about this is that Elysium is not a world for like the world that we live in normally. So to use that to describe the world that we live in is it's the term of endearment for the world. This world is so marvelous, so fantastic, that we'll call it Elysium and consider ourselves fortunate to live here every day. So I can say, wait, is this the one with the evil apes? Or Elysium, the world needs a term of endearment. Or, this world does not deserve a term of endearment. Man. That's Inland Empire points out on the mental... No, I feel like, no, I think that would be the necktie. The necktie would be like, that's the name, she said the name. We named our world Dirt. Okay, so as much as I like callbacks, and I like to pick callbacks, the one with the evil apes is a little bit too clown shoes when I could. I could be the opposite of clown shoes and lean all in and go 100% Lauren. All serious, all the time. And I'm gonna do that. You better believe it. Am I gonna be a serious, dramatic, poetic, non-clown shoes? Yes, I am. Elysium. The world needs a term of endearment.
It does. There are those who would call it hell.
What is hell?
A term of hatred that originates, like many such things, with the Mesk petro-fascists.
Yeah, because we don't have Christianity in this world, at least not as we know it from our world. So what would the concept of heaven and hell be like? That is a thing you have to ask yourself. That's a thing you have to put together when world building another world. You have to ask yourself, what do the people believe? And if they don't believe in something, what did they used to believe in? Like, what is like shaping their culture? So that's interesting. So with the understanding that Joyce is perhaps a little xenophobic, but not xenophobic in the sort of way that makes her look down on Kim for being a different, like, physical ethnicity, and maybe that level of like maybe if he, I don't know whether the fact that, like, I don't know whether, like, I'm not exactly sure how racism works 100% in this world, but I feel like, yeah, no, she would be like, oh, absolutely, Kim's a Revachol, like, he's from Revachol, like, Kim is one of us, absolutely. Kim is totally her fellow countryman, that's fine, he falls under the umbrella of her protection. No, but Zalili, the thing is, I'm not calling her xenophobic because she's calling these people fascists. I'm saying that the way that she has talked about other countries, and the protectiveness that she feels about her own country against other people kind of invading and taking it over, may reflect some degree of xenophobia. Not like xenophobia for its own sake, not rooted in the same way that, like, racism makes people xenophobic, but xenophobic in a way more specific to her situation, and the situation of her country and having seen it be invaded, colonized, etc. And so I have to apply a bit of that filter to what she says. When she talks angrily about other countries, I have to, say, okay, Joyce has her own bias that we must consider. But it is so interesting to have somebody who was like, yeah, I threw in on the opposite side of the communists and I do it again, but damn those fascists, because I think a lot of times people, I don't know, it's just interesting. Because the way that she says that's a very, like, this is clearly a term that she says and believes in. Hi, Aether, good to see you again. You did, and we are talking to Joyce. Boy, howdy, are we talking to Joyce? So I'm guessing that these people from Mesk must have a religion that, my guess is that they would have the religion that power-wise, and sense-wise kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? The equivalent of a cognate? I don't know. Not the parallel to, there's a word for it and I can't think of it. But it's it's Catholicism. Analog, thank you, the analog. That is exactly the word I was looking for, Blue Glass. So glad you folks are there to like, when I'm like word, you like reach over and like hand and I'm like, word, thank you. They must have gotten inquisitive, yes. No, I think that because Musk is the Spain analog, I think that that's reasonable to feel that this is probably going to be the Catholicism analog, which I think has a more... Because you have fire and brimstone in evangelical Christianity to some degree, but it's in a different way. So that's interesting to know. I'm going to say, because I can either say, I don't feel like I have got the whole picture yet, or I've got a clear picture. Let's proceed to another term. No, I don't have the whole picture yet. Joyce, you got to finish. I need more world building. I need more info dumping. Give me the info dumping.
Oh, you want a picture of the world? There is no complete set yet, dear. They're having some trouble reaching orbit.
Interesting. All right, that's something I was wondering about. She raises her finger to her lips. So we do not have images of the planet because they can't get into space. How come?
Great things are difficult to achieve. For now, we're viewing the world from the inside, sideways.
Inside, sideways. What does that even mean? So I can either say, how about it's a ball? Or inside, sideways? What shape is this world then? I'm going to ask that because I don't understand. Also, I'm about to have a breakthrough, so that's going to be really exciting. Are you ready for that? All right. What shape is the world?
We used to think it was a sphere, but that is beginning to look less and less likely by the day. You wouldn't know it from the tabloids, but the ORG nations have been launching weather balloons into the lower ionosphere since the 30s.
Okay, that is fascinating. If they have a world that isn't spherical, like, that really would really drive home that it's a different universe than ours. You know? How? What else would it be? How else would that work? How does physics work in this universe? Donut world, yeah. And I don't know if we know what the ORG nations are. I don't remember that. That doesn't mean I haven't been told. A flat Elysiumer? Oh, that's funny. Oh man, the tabloids. Of course, Joyce is aware of what the tabloids are saying, but she would never read them. Goodness, no, she just sees them at the checkout lane at the grocery store. All right.
ORG, Occident Revachol Grad.
Thank you, Encyclopedia. You're always there for me, buddy. It's so great. Okay, Occident, Revachol, Grad. Okay, so Revachol is where I am. Grad is Russia-ish analog. And Occident is the West. I don't actually know for sure what the Occident is. I thought it was further, but it might actually be closer. I was wondering if someone was going to call me on that when I mentioned her grocery shopping. That is the most unlikely thing of everything we've said, that Joyce buys her own groceries. I don't know. She seems like the sort of person who might go to a really high-end grocery store and be like, well, yes, of course I buy my own groceries. That I'm a normal person. She shops at Whole Foods. Yeah, maybe so. Central Market. All right, continue.
There's a steadily increasing trickle of images. Between the big three scientific contributors, they're piecing together a dark grey corona.
Okay, so when she says the big three scientific contributors, specifically to this rather than those being the most scientifically curious nations, I'm wondering what the Occident is like. I was under the impression that that was like farther distance away. But then Revachol and Grodd are physically close enough that the revolution in Grodd came to be a revolution in Revachol. But it's also possible that they are allied with somebody that's a bit farther away, scientifically allied. But notice, I think, that these are not necessarily regions that are at all connected to the Coalition. I guess the Coalition allows them to do their crazy science and doesn't care, because that's not threatening to be communist, I guess. I'm just really fascinated by the idea that the world is shaped differently. The planet is shaped differently. And these three countries, that at least two of them got their asses kicked in the war. I don't know, I'm just thinking through this. I mean, maybe Occident did not get their asses kicked in the war. Dark gray corona. I'm sorry, I'm still kind of like trying to piece together like the geography and history, let alone getting into the science. There's just too much. Dark gray corona?
Yes. Pale covers 72% of the surface. There are grey flares and prominences, even arcs above entire isolas. The images are blurry, but if there was a sphere in there, it certainly looks like it fractured a long time ago.
What the fuck? Okay, because I was feeling like it was really fragmented. Like, the world has felt very much like these places are disconnected and they're fragmented and communication is difficult and traveling is difficult. I feel like I've heard the phrase "the pale" before while playing this game, and I'm trying to remember where I heard that term. The pale driver. Thank you. Yeah, so please give me a minute to try to figure what the hell is going on here. I looked at a book about it in the bookstore. Okay, thank you. Maybe I'll have to go back and look at that again. So, trying to make sense of this planet has confused the hell out of me because it feels really fragmented and artificially fragmented. Because if it was just ocean in between things, well, then we develop things that can go across ocean real good. If that makes sense. You know? That's kind of what happens. And yet it feels like there's something that gets in the way of that. Like there's something artificially holding back our transportation and our ability to look around things. That's felt really jarring and disconcerting, and again really fragmented. And trying to piece together what's going on in this world, there's these individual isolated places. Isola. And it's been driving me crazy because everything has felt slightly claustrophobic. You can't connect with or reach these other people. And even the people who have a great deal of power feel I don't know. It just doesn't feel like there's enough presence. Something's been missing. And so the idea that 70% of the world is covered in something else. Like, as though maybe once upon a time this was a whole world and it could have been crossed easily by being really good at ocean, you know? But something got in the way. Can I say something really stupid? Can I get really dumb for a minute here? Will you indulge me? Okay. We're doing this. It's real dumb. And I'm fully aware of the fact this might be real dumb. Revachol was trying to do something revolutionary. They were trying to redefine society and prove to themselves and the world that they could choose another way. But that way was viewed as a danger to the powers that be. And so the powers that be damaged Revachol in such a way that they are unable to break out of a low-level status quo, and communication with the outside world is difficult. Organization with the outside world is difficult. And as frequently happens when, like, the sense of power, like the current, like, source of power is taken away, and then there's a power vacuum, there's an internal fracturing. And so you have these different groups rising up trying to seize power. But as a result, there's not this cohesive working together. There's this fundamental fragmentation of society, of people. And like I was saying earlier, I think when I started the game, and you kind of get this sense that you have these people who are disconnected from each other and can't bridge that to come together. That same thing can be said to be true of Revachol at large. So it's even physically difficult for the people in this region to reach each other. It's difficult for the people to reach each other emotionally because, like, we are desperate and we are opposed to one another. It's difficult for us to reach each other physically because we don't all have these fancy ass boats to go across the water. And even if we do, there's cultural differences, there's betrayal and heartbreak that's preventing us from teaming up together. And this is all conceived of by the powers that be in the form of, I suppose, moral interim and the coalition government, to keep the people from uniting and doing something that threatens the powers that be. But if we pull back from the devastation in Revachol and we look at the world at large, that same theme of disconnection carries out just as well to the entire world. Like, it's not just within Revachol that it is difficult to get from place to place to place. It's not just within Revachol that neighbors aren't able to connect or that forces are in opposition. The different countries have felt really disconnected from each other. But now we find that there's something additional that is perplexing, and people don't know the source of it necessarily. This pale that covers a massive amount of the surface, it's clearly not ocean. We have ocean where she's on a boat. Hi, Sandy. Sorry, you've caught me in the middle. I'm having a thought about Disco Elysium that's maybe maybe a little crazy, but I'm leaning into it. Yeah, Aether, I think it had to do with the music, and the feeling of the music. But the thing is, like, there is this thing that they don't know and don't have power or control over, presumably. I mean, maybe Joyce will tear this all apart. Maybe I'll pick a dialogue option and it will tear what I'm saying into, like, fragments and be like, well, that was fun. But, like, it feels like the same thing that is keeping Revachol from coming together and forming a cohesive, powerful whole is true to some degree of, like, the world at large in this non-understandable. Well, thank you for coming by, and thank you for the raid, Sandy. I hope that you have a good night. Sleep well. Take it easy, and welcome to Sandy's Raiders. I appreciate you all joining us. But I'm gonna finish this thought if you don't mind. What I can't help wondering, and this is where the mini golfing comes in. We are building a house of cards on top of a house of cards at this point. Okay. I've kind of had this, like, halfway joking thing about, like, a pocket dimension or something where they're, like, experimenting with something, like, separated from the world. Did somebody do this? Is somebody doing this as an experiment where it feels like there's, like, some sort of other that is causing the world to be weird and not like our world, but have, like, this, like, strange fragmentation. I can't help but wonder if, on some level... Okay. Aliens! No. I'm sorry I had to do that. But if someone or something that could be identified as a larger scaled powers that be decided to forcefully fragment the people of the world, the Disco of Elysium. There was a period of time that the people of Elysium felt that their world was connected and unified. Now, granted, we've seen there are problems with history. It's not like it was all sunshine and roses. But like, if at some point the Pale was introduced by someone or something to forcibly prevent the people of Elysium. It's so convenient that they've given me a word for their world so I can use it in this conversation right now. Wasn't that nice of them? Thank you, Disco Elysium. Very convenient. That the people of Elysium are likewise being held down in this state of limited technological advancement and limited social advancement and this perhaps artificially induced limitation to prevent them from doing something that would upset the status quo and threaten the powers that be, just as the coalition government has done to Revachol. Wouldn't that be interesting? Maybe it would be a little bit heavy-handed. Maybe it would be a little bit too much like a Star Trek The Next Generation episode where the A plot and the B plot are too closely together, where one of them is like a small version of the other to doubly reinforce the point they're trying to make. Because I love Star Trek The Next Generation very much. But I would not call it subtle by any stretch. But wouldn't that be interesting? I really have no reason to believe that that's what's going on. But my gut, man. My gut is saying aliens. I don't necessarily think it's aliens. I don't know what it would be. I have literally no idea. But since I can't figure out how the hell this world works... Demons! God! I don't know. Maybe this is an equivalent of the fall of the Tower of Babel. You know? If we have supernatural elements in this world, why not? There you go. How's that? Oh, man. I don't actually think they're going to do that, but some part of my brain, but my Inland Empire is like, but what if they did? But what if they did, Lauren? They might, you don't know that. Yes, maybe we have a global Tower of Babel situation paralleling the scenario that's played out in Revachol. You never know. It could happen. if you want to discuss the ridiculousness of supernatural investigator Lauren and her case and the case of the Tower of Babel disco ball explosion, you can join us on Discord and jump into the stream spoilers group and munch on peanuts in the peanut gallery with everyone else. You don't even have to hang out in the rest of the Discord. You can just go and do that while I'm having this conversation. I'm assuming that there's at least some conversation, even if it's just, oh my god, Lauren, what? Just fine. You're allowed. Yeah, you don't even have to ask for stream spoilers permission. You can just go now. We took away the permission. It's great. All right. Back to the Pale. I think the Discord has some pretty great people, but I'm biased. I like my community. We have silly inside jokes. We will happily explain them to you so you can also be inside with us. All right. So, Pale covers 72% of the surface. Gray flares, prominences, arcs above entire isolas. Like, what is Pale? Like, they can't get out of, like, the space immediately around the planet. They can't make it up very far because Pale is in the way. So when she says we're from the inside looking out, it's because there's something covering us. Fascinating. What the hell, man? So I can either say, oh my god, wait, what the hell are you telling me? Or, the Pale? What do you mean, Corona? A world covered in whipped cream. I do like whipped cream. Okay. I put some whipping cream in the fridge, and it was in the back of the fridge, so it froze. And then when it thawed, it was really weird texture, but I still made ganache with it. A Lauren story. And then I put it on wacky cake, which I made with mayo. It was tasty. Anyway. Yeah, no, they're sun terms. Yeah, no. So it's very strange. It's like, as though it, because like the thing is like the surface of the sun is not like just like one like, it's not like a balloon, where it's like this like solid thing. Like it's a texture. It moves. It recedes. It sends out bursts and things. So the using those words to describe Pale gives the impression that Pale also kind of like ebbs and flows and moves and has motion. There's a word and I can't think of it, so you're just getting this. Yeah. All right. I like both of these answers and I can't tell what the difference between them is. One of them seems like they've got sort of halfway a grasp on it, and the other one doesn't have a grasp on it. I really want to see the Northern Lights. At some point, I hope to take a little road trip north with one of my friends who has a car. Or else I guess I could rent one and go far enough north, because you can see them from Ontario. I would love to see the Northern Lights. That would be rad. My mom has seen them. It sounds like a really amazing experience. So, all right. The Pale? And what do you mean Corona? I have to go read that book again, and I have to think about the fact that the Pale driver is there. I don't know.
They say there is a rarefied envelope of matter surrounding the darkened disk of our planet. That is, if we are still living on a planet. Or, to speak more plainly, imagine vast swathes of land disrupted by nothingness.
I have read The Neverending Story, and I love it very much, and it has a lot of the nothing. Yes, thank you, Chrono. We're on the same page.
I am sorry, dear. It must sound quite terrifying through the acute encephalopathy. Even scientific positivism isn't entirely convinced about what we're dealing with here.
What the hell is scientific positivism?
But this is one of the greatest questions of our time. Maybe when they get the complete set together, it will jolt us out of our rut, bring us together, however naive it may sound.
A fractured corona doesn't feel like it's gonna bring anyone together. Okay, and then everything will be okay? That's my demented tea kettle impression. Empiricism. Okay, you're gonna have to clarify what that means exactly, because if I knew at one point, I do not now. So if you could play rhetoric or encyclopedia for me, I would appreciate it. Scientific positivism. There's a logical positivism, which is the philosophy that says objective facts are the only measure of reality, which rejects subjectivity and metaphysics. Okay. All right. Positivism is a philosophical school. Genuine knowledge is either true by definition or positive. Other ways of knowing, such as intuition, introspection, or religious faith, are rejected or considered meaningless. Don't believe in only things you can measure. Okay. Okay. So the idea here being like that the observing scientists aren't sure what's going on here. Got it. Thank you for explaining that. As Phil says, like, if we think about like positivity, that has a different connotation. So without knowing the definition, trying to guess what positivism means, I think might be misleading because of that. So it's helpful. Yeah, it's interesting because it is so prevalent that I'm kind of like, but why does that have to be specified as being a philosophy? But that's because it has gotten pretty deeply ingrained. One of the things that was fascinating, I took like an intro to philosophy class or two in university. And one of the things that I found most fascinating about it, completely unrelated to any specific philosopher or philosophy that we studied, was that there were things that were set forth by a particular individual or school of individuals that prior to that were not the way that people thought about things, but in our modern world have become so entrenched that it is almost inconceivable to think about the world or think about thinking without them. Like, it just seems like one of those things that you just take for granted. That's just how it is. That's just how we think. That's just how the world works. But somebody came up with that. And it was so mind-blowing to me. Like, that's what I took out of philosophy class. Like, I didn't fully retain what any one philosopher believed in, what any particular school of philosophy exactly was. I have some general sense of some of them, but that was something that was what I took away from it. And it was amazing because when people make fun of somebody for studying philosophy in school, because they're like, the idea that people make fun of philosophy for is that philosophy is separate from the world. Philosophy is as ivory tower as you can possibly get, which, if you're not familiar with what it means, like what the ivory tower is, because that has a specific meaning outside of the Neverending Story, the idea is kind of like academics are high upon a hill in an ivory tower separate from the rest of the world where they do pure learning. And so the idea is that philosophy is this silly self-indulgent thing that people do when they've got nothing better to work on. Like, don't you have some real problems to solve? don't you have like some actual real world issues to deal with? Maybe you should get a real job, sort of thing. But when you realize how fundamental philosophy is, it's like, okay, so calculus is the language of physics. And they had to invent calculus. Like, they had to have calculus to then make physics. And I feel like there's a parallel between that and the role that philosophy plays in thought, society, culture, humanity, something. I don't have the word I'm looking for. There might be one, there might not be. So I'm just pulling a bunch of that and putting them together. So philosophy can, doesn't always, but can fundamentally affect the most baseline level of how the people that philosophy bleeds into perceive themselves in the world. And it shapes everything they think and everything they do. It's absolutely incredible, and I had no idea. And it's interesting because people will say philosophy has no practical applications, but it does, just not immediately, not directly. Perhaps not in an immediately measurable positivism style way. Did I use that correctly? You know? Yes, Big Box Store. It is exactly Clarissa Explains It All. I loved that show. Also, being a philosophy major prepares you really well for anything that involves asking questions and formulating arguments. So it's great if you want to go to law school. Or to grad school in general. There's a lot of things you can do with a philosophy degree. But the people who think that we should only have STEM education don't see that. It's a problem. God damn it. Yeah, Joyce is trying to explain things, but I'm just going. I am out of control. The session. I'm out of control, man. I mean, I have an English degree, and people are like, oh, that means you're going to be an English teacher. And I was like, no, there's actually a lot of other things you can do. Being able to communicate. It's useful. It's amazing. So, yeah. No, this is really exciting. I'm enjoying this crazy world. I thought that people were excited because there was going to be like some character stuff. I didn't realize that we were going to do world building stuff. And I don't know if you guys knew I was going to go completely off the deep end. Maybe some of you had an inkling, but we did it. I did it, and I don't regret it. Oh, man. All right. Fractured corona isn't going to bring anyone together, but overcoming the fractured corona and rebuilding the Tower of Babel and undoing the efforts to fracture society and somehow putting things together. You realize I'm going to do that from now on, right? Buckle up. Folks, I think we have this game's mini golf course. Full disclosure, in case you don't understand the origin of mini golfing, when I played Final Fantasy X fairly early on, I was like, I kind of feel like something's not right here with this world building, and it kind of feels like this whole Summoner's Quest is like a mini golf course where the final hole has something else going on. And I kept building on this mini golf thing, and I was like, no. And then, of course, if you know how that game ends, then you have some idea of where I'm going with this. But I won't spoil it. It's a very good game, very emotional, and I loved it. But it was originally this like wackadoodle comparison thing, like what I just did with this game. So I think that we have achieved, and the folks who were there for Final Fantasy X or who watched it on YouTube can attest. I continue to reference the mini golf course. We're gonna have this Tower of Babel thing. I'm gonna continue to reference this Tower of Babel thing obnoxiously. Anyway, I'm really excited about this. What am I gonna do? Oh my god. Thank you, Chrono. Chrono said I'm going to babble on about it. Pretty sure etymologically those two words are related. Whew. Yeah, well, apparently the Hades writers and I were like all on the same page, so that was fun. I don't know that that's the case with this game though, but I'm having fun. All right, I had to pick an answer. I can be pessimistic, or I can be optimistic but sound really juvenile, needing reassurance. Oh yes, I too have played Final Fantasy IV. It's good music there. It's a good soundtrack overall, but that's one of the best tracks in the soundtrack. All right. It's not the fractured corona. I'm going to say okay, and then everything will be okay. I'm going to ask this one. Sure, that's fine. We don't have to be a big brain all the time. It's all right, Ocelot. I've got your back.
I don't know about things of that scale. My expertise lies in nations and trade routes. One or several layers below everything.
Well, Joyce, I'm still trying to figure out nations and trade routes, so if you could please just upload that information to my brain, thanks, that'd be great. Illusion of Gaia also has done some... Yeah, it's a relevant comparison, that's all I'm saying. Naturally, I love Illusion of Gaia, the game that features a character who fights with his flute and uses telekinesis and travels around the world exploring mythology, and it's all about the duality between light and dark, life and death, hope and hopelessness, continuing to find meaning even when meaning seems to have been stripped away. I like Terranigma too. I just really like that whole... I just really like Quintet. They're weird, but I really like them. Anyway, we can talk about Quintet another time.
But yes, we'll be fine. Don't worry.
She's being reassuring to him as though he's a child, because that answer was phrased like a child.
She does not seem convinced that you'll be fine. If anything, she's realizing how deep your condition runs.
So I can say, it certainly doesn't feel like I'm fine, or thanks, okay. Or, okay, forget all this stuff. Let me ask something else. So that is actually really interesting because I was thinking that the primary difference between those two options was the pessimism and the optimism. But I noticed one of them does sound sophisticated. One of them sounds very young, like a child seeking comfort. But I thought the priority of it would be different. But it actually seems to be that the like prioritization, like what is most important about that is the sophistication versus the childlike request for help. So if I had picked the cynical, pessimistic, but sophisticated response, I think that she might have thought less like, wow, you are a mess. It's interesting. I suspect I'm right on this. So I can say, it certainly doesn't feel like I'm fine, or thanks, okay, or okay, forget all this stuff, let me ask something else. Say, it certainly doesn't feel like I'm fine.
You have misimagined it. I don't have the power to convey to you the effect and geometry of the images that depict our world from below low orbit. It's...
I really want to see it.
It's like the crowning of the world. It's insane. Very disco. You'd love it.
I just had a realization. Hold on, no. We're gonna do something as soon as we're done with this. Well, okay. No, it's not the other half of the title. It's the goddamn title screen. And I can't get to it because as soon as we're out of this, we're gonna have to go into a thought. I just want to go to the title. Okay, well, that's fine. We're gonna get there. No, it's not the words. It's the image. It's the picture. It's the ominous smoking cloud obscuring everything in the background, and how things at a distance are harder to see, and it's really disconcerting and strange. Where there should be sky, there's this, yeah. I mean the crazy cloud in the sky. Yes, that. It's there. It's been there since the beginning. It seemed weird, and I've been like, what the hell is that since the beginning? And it turns out it's not just artistic license. It's significant to the game. But I didn't know that. Whoa. 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 Anyway. Video games. No, this is not a direct response to what Joyce is saying here. I just put the connection that perhaps what we can see on the title screen is some fragment of the Pale, and that's neat. Well, if you say it's disco, it doesn't sound like any kind of disco I'd like to go to. I'm going to say, well, if you say it's disco.
See? Everyone finds something worth holding on to in this world, however wasted its opportunities.
Oh, man. Oh, Joyce. She is a character.
Suddenly, you're conscious of yourself standing there, on whatever this all is. Your arms hang down by your sides. The lieutenant observes you both, silently. He adjusts his glasses.
Oh, wow. You said pale. What is pale? Does this just repeat that conversation? I assume it must. But tell me about this world again. I'm gonna try this. You said pale. What is pale?
The Pale is not, technically speaking, part of reality.
So does the Pale driver have anything to do with going through the Pale, or is it kind of metaphorically because she steps outside of reality in her own head?
Yes. Also, I think we've had enough excitement for today. Remember, we have a cadaver to attend to.
Of course, Lieutenant. Let's try something else.
I guess it's probably late, but I wanna... I guess I could come back to it. I can come back to it. Right. Can I come back to it? I'll come back to it. We can do that. I want to know. But Kim is reminding me that maybe I shouldn't do all of this. There's a body and a racist, you see? Hi, Katie! What's up? We are playing Disco Elysium. If you have any interest in playing this game, it is a wise idea not to watch somebody else play it because spoilers abound everywhere, and we just had some stuff. It's a really great game, though, as far as, like, the writing. It's just incredibly good. I don't know, Zulily. I don't want to, like, break the game. Alright, everybody. Katie Shesko is a friend of mine. She is a video game flute player, so if you like video game flute players, you should give her a follow. She plays flutes and also Zelda. And Zelda on flute. So Flute Zelda. Sometimes as Zelda, playing flute from Zelda on her flute. Playing flute songs from Zelda. I need to message you anyway, actually, Katie. I've got a project I'm collaborating on with a friend, and I need to summon up the VGM Flute Brigade. I'm going to send up a signal. We're going to do this. Let's do this. Frozen. I was like, no. You should follow my friend Katie, is what I'm saying. We'll talk. I'll message you. Yes, I have VGM Flute Brigade. I'm going to summon them all together. It's going to be great. If any of you play flute and have the ability to record yourselves and would be interested to play some video game music and make that happen, let me know. I am in the process of trying to acquire all the flutes. You can never have enough. Never have enough. But yes, thank you so much, Katie, for the raid and for Katie's crew. I'm Lauren the Flute. I'm a variety streamer of sorts. These days I mostly play video games. I want to get into doing more music streams again, and cooking streams and things, but for like health reasons I haven't really been able to this year. But hopefully that'll happen. I'm playing Disco Elysium on Thursdays. Tuesdays I've been playing Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, which I'm kind of, I think, about to beat, so that's exciting. And I think we're going to play Ghost Trick next. So, we'll see. Yeah, no, Katie, I feel like we've got some overlaps there. Unfortunately, it sucks. But my iron levels are finally healthy, so it's going to be uphill, or getting better for me from now on, which is exciting. Yeah, as of last week, I got the news, so my memory might come back. It's very exciting. I've been a bit of an amnesiac myself. But yeah. We're going to play some Disco Elysium. Don't let it spoil you. It's a very good, dark, heavy, well-written game. Everyone's experience with it is a little bit different. I recommend it highly. Learning one term of reality at a time. No, it's okay, Katie. Go sleep. Go sleep. Get your rest. Gotta live to fight another day. Thank you. Take care. Alright, so I suspect that Kim reminding me is a good gameplay reminder thing. And I would like, as long as she's not going to be gone tomorrow, I'd like to be able to talk to her about the Pale and learn more about this. So I think I probably should listen to Kim's advice. This is my first playthrough. And I have a no backseating policy, but just as Goombella is allowed to backseat a little bit in Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, Kim is allowed to backseat sometimes in this game. I don't always have to listen to him. But I think tonight I will, for better or for worse. As long as I can come back. Yeah, I'm going to put on the hat. Can I come back and ask Joyce about the Pale and have this conversation another time? Yes or no? All right. Sweet. We're going to do that. It's okay. We've got a thought we have to go think anyway. All right. Okay, then.
The lieutenant glances at you from the corner of his eye.
Oh! 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 Talk to Joyce about the Pale without Kim. Kim doesn't want... That's interesting. So Kim's not actually interrupting me because of how long we've been talking. Kim doesn't want this conversation to happen, potentially. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, task list. I guess I'm gonna do that. I'm very curious. I mean, so the thing is, like, I suspect that there's a lot of non-scientific positivism interpretations of the Pale. And Kim has already shown himself to not have a lot of patience for that. So perhaps he is afraid that his unhinged partner is going to go galloping off a cliff in the direction of that. That's all right. That's all right. I suspect Kim has my best interest in mind in his own perspective. Am I going to listen to that? No. No, I'm not. I'm going to come back, obviously. It's interesting that you can't talk to the Pale driver with him in your party either. Like, I wonder if there's something significant there. Or it could just be that he doesn't want you to be rude to an old lady. You never know. Well, we're putting a point in Volition. Our Volition tells us to come back. Come back without Kim. this conversation. Gonna do that. Continue.
Was he just worried that you would find out something awful?
Oh.
This is not going to happen with the lieutenant present, unless you can convince him to step aside.
All right. Yeah, Turkey on Rye was very generous with the gift subs. I'm glad. I'm glad. Thank you very much for that. And thank you for thanking them, Bean Shadow. Also, I think it's funny that somebody named after a turkey sandwich and somebody with bean in their name are connected now between the gift sub. That just cracks me up. You can have a turkey on rye with a side of beans. Baked beans. I like baked beans. Alright, let's do the that's all for now.
Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else?
Alright, folks, we have a breakthrough imminent that might... Well, we'll see what happens. Got points in Volition. But we'll see if I take psychic damage for this anyway. Are you ready? Are you ready? This is gonna be a sad one. Most of them are sad ones, but this one is called White Mourning. Mourning as in grieving. So I'm pretty sure that's not gonna be a good old happy time. Oh, I can't save my game. No! Let's do it. Thought complete. White Mourning. Is there a version of English that has any sort of audible difference between mourning as in the opposite of night and mourning as in grieving loss? Or are they purely homophones no matter what? And we have to pick up from context which one we mean. Does anybody know any version of English in which those words are differentiated? Okay. Alright, well, in that case, I will clarify for anyone who's listening instead of watching. The narrator is broken. Well, sometimes things, there's just flags that just don't work. It's alright. You've got me. If there's going to be some French, I'm going to butcher it, but I'm going to do my best. I always do my best. Respectfully, but there's flaws. Alright. And the little guy gets smaller and smaller as you rise above the dollhouse world. You see him out in the snow, on the streets, in the shop on the corner, and finally in a matchbox house. Sitting by the window, white flowers on the windowsill. You can smell them from up here. It's awful. A white mourning. A modern death. Divorce or something similar. All you can do is put more distance between you and him. Make him smaller. Make him less you. I have a proposal. I was differentiating between Harry and Ocelot. May I make an additional distinction between Harry before, Harry after, and Ocelot? Harry is a man who runs away. Harry before experiences the trauma of loss and perhaps something that precipitated that loss. If we're going to go by detective stories, cop stories, perhaps he's become a workaholic, perhaps he's been traumatized by the experience of being a cop in this world, which does seem like it comes with its share of trauma, judging by the way the RCM folks talk about things. So there may be some additional issues there. And then this break. The loss. She leaves. And Harry chooses to distance himself and run away from that. To make himself less that person and more another person. If that person was the good and loving person who tries so hard and has inspired the affection and adoration that we read in that letter, then if Harry's like, all right, you have presumably cited some reasons why you are leaving me, and I'm just gonna lean into that because fuck it. If you think that I'm a workaholic, loser, good for nothing, I guess I am. And if there was a part of me that was good once upon a time, and that's what you liked, well, he's lost forever. And so I'm gonna run away from that. And instead of trying to get back to it, I can't do that. That's outside of my control. So I guess, you know, maybe Harry before would never have gotten into drugs and alcohol in the same way. Or maybe he started drinking. Maybe he had a drinking problem. But like to really lean into that. So Harry after becomes an addict completely out of control. Yes, I don't want to get better. I want to get worse. Fine. If I'm getting worse, I'm just going to I will show you how worse I can get. And that's Harry after. Until he hits another breaking point. And then we step in. And then he becomes, in my distinctions here, Ocelot. I can work with that. And that makes sense because I've talked about him seeming like he's this very like different person, but he's like he has these pieces of him that are, and these versions of him that we've seen evidence of that are very different from each other. So in a way, he's kind of reinvented himself perhaps between those two. And now he's reinventing himself again. Yeah, that might make him the most divorced man. Do you think he gives Asgore a run for his money? All right. And that's actually really interesting in terms of like this isn't the first time he's done this kind of. Shall we see what these bonuses are? Plus 20% zoom out distance. All motorics learning caps raised by 1. Oh, Kim will like that. That's cars. It's not actually cars. Yes, he forgot his divorce and he's still divorced. That's pretty divorced. It literally gives you perspective. Hey, does that mean that I can have more points in hand-eye coordination? Sweet. All right, let us accept it. Fascinating. Reaction speed, that's the one I wanted. I forgot. I got that confused with hand-eye coordination. Okay, we're gonna save this game. That one wasn't devastating. It was interesting. Talk to Joyce about the Pale without Kim. Lieutenant Kitsuragi does not want you to hear about something called the Pale, probably thinking it will prove traumatic. Return to Joyce once he is not there and ask her about it, or get him to step away for a second. I think I'll come back. Okay, so to zoom in or out, I think I found a way to do this. How did I do that? I don't have a mouse. I only have a touchpad, so I have to remember. Oh, look at that! You can walk around with your little arrow keys. But you can't fling yourself off the pier! This is garbage. What kind of an adventure game is this? How do I zoom out again? Dragging 2 fingers? There we go! Yeah! Oh, I wonder what a difference that's gonna make. That's gonna let me see things that I couldn't before. Whoa. That's fascinating. Alright. I really should finish talking to Cindy the Skull. A 20% difference, yeah. No, I wonder what if I'm gonna be able to see things, like if that actually is gonna make a gameplay difference, or if it's just a really interesting and funny way of kind of rewarding you for having this thought. What would be more traumatic about learning about the Pale that Kim thinks it's a bad idea? Because that seems to be what Ocelot's brain thinks the issue is. Dissociation is game mechanics, yes. could go try to play a game with the old guys. I got the game ball thing. Okay, so now I understand how this building works. Where was that basement thing that I was looking out of? I'm not sure. Now I can go in there. Man. And see, there's that lady up there smoking. And I don't know how to get up to her, but there's gotta be a way. How do I get up there? Under the bookshelf by the bottom of the stairs. Oh! Oh, so looking up into the bookstore? So it looks inside instead of outside. Is that what you're saying? Hold on, I'm gonna take a look. Cause like I don't see in front of the bookstore. Oh! Oh, right there? That? Is that it? We can zoom in. Oh. 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 Okay. Fascinating. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The dissociation is really an interesting choice. Man, people are here having feelings. Why would you ever just sit on a bench to pass time when you could talk to people instead? Man, what do I want to do now? I want to talk to Joyce. Talking to people is great. Well, I mean, in this game, why would you sit on a bench when you could be out having conversations and picking every possible dialogue option to make time pass? There were other things to discuss with Joyce, that's true. Yeah, especially now that I know that it's not actually Kim telling me that I need to go do the body thing. Probably should go do the body thing, though. Because, yeah, I enjoy people watching, too. I just also enjoy talking to people. I just like people. I don't want to talk to Measurehead. I've been kind of stalling. I've managed to stall that, like, all day. It might be too late to... This door is broken, and I don't think it's supposed to be broken. Hello, racist bee. Racist. He doesn't even get to be like the first racist. That's Measurehead. Measurehead is the first racist. Okay, yeah, so this place is closed for the night, I guess. There's racist A and racist B. He's like racist 1 and racist 2. He's less of racist, yes. I mean, they're both pretty pathetic, but, have I talked to this guy yet today? I don't remember if I did.
So, how'd you like our harbor?
He stares at you with his hazy eyes.
You've been in there, he means. Talked to the boss man, too.
So
probably.
I can say, was nice enough, or labor utopia, not approvingly, or complete shit. Oh man, okay, I have not talked to him about this. Sorry, folks. Did you think we were gonna progress the plot? No, I'm Lauren. I gotta talk to somebody. Alright, I'm gonna say was nice enough. Maybe.
It's but a rest area on the path leading across open plains.
He nods solemnly, then turns to you, a wide smile adorning his face.
Right. You talk to the boss, eye to eye, like men of the plain. If you have any more questions, I'm set to talk.
Oh, because I've spoken to Everard, now I'm safe to talk to. Any idea who killed the hanged man? It's a reasonable question for me to ask everybody. See who he pins it on or speculates. See if I can guess whether I think he's telling the truth or not.
The mercenary, eh? Who could have killed him? That's indeed the question. Why even do such a thing?
He shakes his head solemnly. Yes, the mercenary. The merc was hanged with a very specific type of cargo belt, one often used in heavy transport areas, for example, harbors. Or, 2. The harbor is a prime area of suspicion. In your opinion, are the dock workers involved in the killing? Or 3. Let's change the topic. I'm gonna bring up the evidence. Good night, Chrono. Sleep well. We're gonna continue snooping because that's what I do. Alright. I'm gonna choose 1. I'm gonna tell him evidence. See where he goes from this. I'm not accusing him. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm just saying this thing was happening. Maybe he'll offer some speculation. Not that it's a prime area of suspicion, which sounds a little too copy interrogation. And this guy seems like he might be a good one to talk to, buddy. I can't not try this. I'm sorry, folks. That's just how my brain works.
What a thought. Why would noble workers resort to such a thing? Unless they were pushed, of course.
Okay, it's funny for him to call them noble workers. That sounds like that's the official terminology from the official party line, you know? Whew. All right. Unless they were pushed. It's like they would never do that unless they had no choice. Because we can, of course, justify things. All right. Pushed how?
Your dead guy was an enemy combatant.
Okay, yeah. This is interesting. You are forthcoming, sir. This is interesting. So I can either say, hold up, what does that mean? Or, did you kill him? I don't think I'm going to ask, did you kill him? I'm going to say, hold up, what does that mean? I mean, I figured this out. I don't know if Ocelot has. Okay, hold up, what does that mean?
He was an agent of the opposition, attempting to undermine our honorable efforts.
Wow. This guy sounds like a true believer. Like, there's a way you can talk about it that comes across as natural, like, and then there's a way of talking about it where you sound like you're quoting a book. And this man sounds like he's quoting a book. Does that make sense? The difference there? And that kind of sets my teeth on edge. Alright. I guess I have no choice but to ask, did you kill him? He's gonna laugh and be like, well, no, of course not. But if we had, it would have been justifiable. Alright, did you kill him?
I ain't the murdering type, but that's just me. Large organizations like our union have all sorts of men, with all sorts of skills.
He's not even trying to say that there's no way it was his people.
Understood. This has been of limited use. Still, thank you.
No problem. I wish the best to you in your search. Sure, I'm glad it's not my search.
He takes a sip from his flask. Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that, not gonna lie. I don't want to do this. So I guess this is what they mean by, like, the buildings were, like, leveled and lost floors. So the bottom floors are still fine, but this has been devastated and they never fixed it because they couldn't. Well, it has the, if it was done by us, I'm not going to say it was unjustified and I'm not going to say it was wrong, sort of thing. I know the union's not scared of the police. They're not going to straight up say, oh yeah, no, we killed him. I don't want to have to do this. You know what? I could save the game and make talking to Measurehead be 2 weeks from now, Lauren's problem. I could go talk to Joyce about a few things. I don't want to talk to Measurehead yet. Also, I know that's going to be a big thing. Sorry, I'm just trying to see if my zooming in or out lets me see anything that I hadn't before. Oh, there was that on the map. There was the glowy cube thing. You know? Okay, so like nothing here is clickable. God, I love this song. The music in this game is gorgeous. See, now that I've learned that I can walk around like this instead of just clicking. Hold on, we're gonna check our map.
The worn map features the patchwork grid. Your finger finally.
Oh,
For a more detailed view of the map,
oh, right. Go to the journal. Map. Okay. You are here. So there is this glowy thing that I guess never got built. Some Marin butter. Pile of clothes. Oh, right. Okay. Don't remember what I was going to do with Gaston. God, there's a few things that I could mess with Measurehead. Wow. Sorry, we're gonna... I could go ask for his sandwich. That's what that was. But whatever it was, it never got built. I guess we can ask the old man for his sandwich. I just wanted to kind of see where I am on the map and try to make sense of it. Hope you don't mind. I'm trying to, okay, so you're, yes, I'm at the waterfront, but how far down can I get to? This? Because I can't get there yet, so I'm still in the Martinaise waterfront. And I can't cross here. I guess originally maybe something here was supposed to be more connected and it now isn't able to be. Oops. You know? Sorry, it's just so interesting. Just trying to make sense of it. Shall we go ask an old man for his sandwich? Do something little? I don't remember if Kim was like really mad about that. Okay, let's see what happens. Because the thing is, if I really hate it, then I'll load, but I'll try to go with it otherwise. This will be our last thing, and then we'll actually try to do something big next time. Whether it's Measurehead or not. I should probably do the stuff with Measurehead.
Officer, the mere sight of police in Martinaise makes me feel safer already. How can I help you?
I don't have a really high chance of winning against him. Did I fail at this already? I've got, like, it's almost 50-50. It's not quite 50-50. You want to see me fail? You'd be like, come on, old man, give me your sandwich. Alright, let's see what happens.
A man so principled about his sandwich calls for a principled approach. Time to get political.
No! Okay, there was a reason why I hadn't done that one, okay. Yeah, never mind. I don't care that much. That's fine. It's not that important. So most people are in bed by 2100 or after, it says. Did it get darker? I guess it is dark. No, I'm pretty sure that I said no to it last time, and I'm going to say no to it again this time because I'm no fun. Although I should probably, I feel like I should pick a, I need to pick a communist answer so that I can see if I can open up that path to explore that, because as interesting as moralism is, it'd be interesting to see what that one is as well. I don't know. That's why the first option is dimmed. All right. Alas, my memory is not very good. Well, I probably should shut down. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a goofy little thing. But I don't know that I want to go there. And I don't know that I have the emotional energy to do anything more. Because, this was not an emotionally taxing episode. Because it didn't really go into the feelings or have anything hard. But I thought a lot. Yeah, let's look at the title screen. Let's look at the title screen. You ready? Yeah. Yeah, because see, like, the world is, like, super ominous looking here. And it reflects the art style. We see the portraits drawn in the same way, too. But we've got what I remember looking at this and thinking that it looked like an explosion. Like war or something like that. But if you look, not the colors, but this weird shit that's going on here. That looks like what happens when you decide to do a marbled design for paper. You know what I'm talking about? It's a technique where you have like water with these like oily colors on it, and they kind of make this texture, this design, and then you put the paper in it and it gets dyed, that design. It's got a little bit of that, but it also looks like Like something's not quite right. It looks like something else too, and I can't think of what it is. It's this thing behind here though. And that's what I'm thinking. Not just this. As interesting and curious as this is. But also that weirdness. And also, when we load the game, and we go into this menu, there's this like kind of like weird texturing here as well. I don't know. There might be something to it. There might not. But it's interesting, isn't it? It's fascinating, isn't it? I think it's fascinating anyway. What does the collage option do? Yeah, no, I do really enjoy and appreciate the very unique art. See, like, these look like regular helicopters, but then this thing doesn't. It's just, and there's a statue, see? So that's the statue. That must be... So this is where Joyce's boat goes, and that's the apartment complex right there. Over here and around there must be the docks. Yeah, because there's some of that stuff up there. And then all around here is the stuff I haven't seen yet. Okay, well I won't click on the collage then if it's not like just who or what you've seen. Although actually, no, look at this. Do you see that thing right there? That glowy white box? That doesn't exist in the game. I think that's that glowy white box that we were confused about what it might be. So looking at this again, yeah, and this is very tall. How many stories did she say it's supposed to be? It's not that tall now. That doesn't exist. I might be mistaken here. But I think, you know, Whirling in Rags is this way. It is possible that what we're looking at here, and we would know if we saw far enough this way to see if there's the Ferris wheel. But it feels almost like what we're looking at here is the attack itself. Because this appears to be the world before it was destroyed. You know, these buildings don't look bombed out. They don't have their top layers falling apart. This apartment building right here is towered. Like there's a tower on it. It seems quite tall. And you see in the distance, there's these other really tall buildings. But this it doesn't look bombed out. But you have this sign of this explosion going on right here. You have the helicopters coming. I feel like this screen is not the world as we're walking around it right now. And I'm not sure that it is the world that they dreamed of either. I think this is the war. I think this is the destruction of Revershal that we're looking at right now. Just based on how things appear and how they appear on the map and then how they appear in game. But then there's kind of this like weird like haziness. And I wonder about that. Because this splash of color across the sky here looks really violent. It looks like fire. It looks like explosion. It looks like destruction. This is why I have to differentiate between this and then the weird pale coloration, the white behind it. You know, you see it? You see it? Do you see what I mean? Whether you agree with me or not. I don't think there's a tower like that. I'll take a look again. But I don't think there's a tower. And that would make sense because having the helicopters here like this, it doesn't feel like Revachol has a lot of helicopters hanging out. How interesting for them to choose to make the title screen be the moment that everything changed. Of sorts. Like, I assume that... I don't know if you can drop bombs from helicopters, but if you can, that's presumably what they're doing, and that's why the distant city is on fire. And they're coming for Martinaise. Right here. I thought that they landed on Martinaise, though. I thought that they landed on the dock and came in and blew everything up, though. So maybe that's not right. Or maybe this shows what it looked like during the war, and this is what it looked like in Martinaise before the war. And they're juxtaposing the time in the front. They're just juxtaposing one time with another time, and that's why the two colored bits don't look the same. You know, like this right here, and then all of this back here, they look different. And this looks destroyed and devastated. So that may even be that there's kind of layers of time here. Okay, it was the artillery that blows everything up. There was something, maybe it was the internal war that was on the ground or something, but okay. Then maybe this is the war. Because yeah, seeing a box like that tends to make you think that they're bringing aid. But who knows? But it does look different than the rest of these. So I kind of wonder if this is a Revacholian thing that is doing something. And these right here are the invaders in some way. I don't know. No, they said they drove their boats right up and shot things, right? I'm trying to remember the specifics. Either way, we might have... I might be completely full of it. Okay, so they shot from a distance and then drove in. Okay. Then this may be the moment before they shoot from a distance. If they've got cannons on their ships. Interesting. Well, that is worth looking at. I'm glad even though I was originally just coming out here to look at the thing that I think is the Pale, I think I have an idea of what's going on here. Which I think I had some inkling kind of what the feel of what was going on was the first time I loaded up the game. But obviously I lacked the context to know what that actually meant. But it's because of this glowy thing right here, which is on the map. And is not in the game as far as I can tell. That's what really gave it away to me. So we'll see if that changes, if my feelings about this change. As we get more information. If Joyce continues to world build for me, or other characters as well. But I'll try to take a look. I might go back and talk to Joyce more next time. I don't know. We'll see. But if so, I want to take a look at that building and see if it has that tower. Because if it doesn't, then that confirms something. Alright, folks. Well, it has been a long, late stream. Not too long, not too straight. Well, we can ask her other questions. There's just that one. Thank you all for joining me. As a reminder, we will not have a stream next week because I will be traveling to Texas and hanging out with my family some. But I will be streaming from Texas. I should have good internet. I have a plan, so that shouldn't be an issue. And this game can go with me everywhere I go. So I should be fine. Because it's right on my little laptop. So yeah. Take care of yourselves. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your company. I appreciate your patience with me as I ramble about my weird things. I will look forward to having more adventures next time. All right. Take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.